Lots of very interesting things on the agenda this week, from how AI agents can make payments on the web, and it's not as easy as you might think, to this new feature from Claude Code, which brings order to some of the chaos you might have encountered managing multiple agents at once. And then finally, we're talking about this huge security vulnerability that Claude Mythos and GPT 5.5 was able to uncover. I hope you enjoy. This is the weekly AI for Everyone meetup. It's called AI for Everyone because we often have some researchers uh, come in from Silicon Valley. We've had people come in from OpenAI and from Google, but we also have people who are new to AI and they want to use this technology in their business. So I keep the room open for everyone so that researchers can have an understanding of what business people and people who work in 9 to 5 jobs are going through with this new technology. And I also keep the researchers in the same room so that people who are trying to implement AI in their business can understand where the research is going. So a little bit about me. I'm Harry, I'm a tech journalist and I'm an AI consultant. I also work for a company called G-Core. So G-Core are who you go to if you're a massive enterprise and you want to run AI. You would actually have to run what's called an open source model. You couldn't just give all your data to ChatGPT and Anthropic if it's sensitive. So some of their clients are Microsoft, Canva, and Higgsfield AI, one of the AI video model generators. So they look after them. I'm a video creator for them, and I also have my own clients helping them implement AI in their business as well. So we've been running this meetup for about 2 or 3 years now, and we go through what has happened in the news in the week. Obviously, with my background in journalism, I know that's quite helpful for people to understand where we are in terms of this technology and how it's being adopted. And we also demo some real world use cases as well, some interesting things that you can implement yourself in your business, or maybe some more experimental things. Higgsfield are one of G-Core's clients, so every time you use Higgsfield, you're actually using G-Core's technology. So yeah, they're one of their clients, and I am G-Core's video content creator. So I make a weekly video every week for them. Those videos are probably a little bit more high level. They're more about AI and infrastructure. So if you're really interested in how is the internet actually changing because of AI and what's going on at the cutting edge, those are the videos to follow. And then on my own channel for myself, I also have videos that are more about how you can implement AI at work. So hopefully useful, valuable things. So if you want to follow my infrastructure videos, the more technical ones, you can follow G-Core Official on YouTube. And we put out videos. We're putting out a new one tomorrow. So we've talked a little bit about DeepSeek version 4. This we're going to talk a little bit about later, GPT 5.5 and Mythos, and why it's so significant and why the leading labs are holding back their latest models. So yeah, some really cool videos on infrastructure. And then on my personal channel, what I do is I make videos for people who are trying to implement AI in their job in small and medium sized enterprises. So you see we've got a video here on how you can use Claude Cowork or Claude Code. Which one should you use? 4 Claude skills that you can use to 10x your work, and I've walked you through how you make them. And I also put up all the recordings from these weekly meetings as well. So if you're looking for more resources, those are 2 free ones for you there. So the agenda for today that we're going to talk about is we are going to talk about AI agents and payments. So what are we actually doing to, let's see if we can bring this up full screen. This sidebar. So AI agents and payments. So the internet is kind of being rebuilt in terms of agents. So what are we doing to actually try and establish protocols with that? Then we're going to talk about Claude Code's agent view, so what it is and how we can use it, why it's important. And then we'll talk a little bit at the end about Mythos and GPT 5.5 passing AI Safety Institute's 32-stage exploit. So I'm going to deconstruct that for you, so don't worry about that. That's more of a research thing where we'll talk about why that's significant, and then at the end we can do some Q&A and a little bit of networking as well with any questions that you might have. So hopefully all very valuable for you. Now, question for you then to get started. Who here has used an AI agent to make a payment on their behalf? Has anyone done that yet? You have. And how did you do it? What was your experience? With Claude, okay. And how did you get it to make the payment for you? What kind of things did you yourself? And what technology did you use to do that? Did you get with sorry? With Opus, okay. Were you able to do that natively, or did you go away? Oh wow! So there was a connector with your bank. So your bankers had rolled out like a connector, an MCP for you to be able to connect it to. Wow, that's really cool. And it was. And do you mind sharing what bank it was? It was sorry. Okay, cool. And did you trust it with making a really big payment or with a small payment? Okay, cool. Yeah, not a massive payment. Yeah, so that's super cool. So, what do you think the problem is with allowing AI agents to go away and make payments for us? Why do you think that's problematic? Yeah, yeah, exactly. What else? What else might be the problem? Yeah, 100%. What else do AI agents and AIs in general love to do? It begins with H. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. They love, right, to hallucinate, don't they? Do we know what we mean by hallucinate? Hallucination means where the AI model will just make stuff up. So really, it doesn't know the answer. Instead of saying I don't know, it's got better at this. It will just tell you a load of nonsense, but be very very concrete. You know, very very. It will make you believe what it's saying is true. So think about, so everybody's raised some really really good points with AI making payments for us. Obviously the security, so we need to lock it down, and hallucinations is the other big one as well. So what this means is, think about this scenario. Imagine you've tasked your AI agent. You said, I want you to go out and find me the best deal for a new MacBook. I actually really do need a new MacBook. So this is probably going to be me soon. Look for all the best deals everywhere on the website, and my budget is $1,000. Uh, what would happen if the AI agent finds a good deal, but it's $1,000.23? Because you put that guardrail in, it's should it go off and should it buy it? Should it say no? That guardrail is absolute. And if it's absolute, then if it's already taken your payment, what's it going to do instead? Is it going to go off and buy you? Let's say you told it, really, I want a MacBook. Is it going to go off and make the payment for you for a second-hand MacBook? Is they maybe going to find like an alternative Mac? Maybe it finds a rip-off one. There's all kinds of different scenarios where it might try and problem solve that for you in a way that we don't, having handed the decision off to an AI to go away and find you the best deal to make the payment. So when we start to break it down, we actually start to realize that it's not as simple and it's not as easy as just giving your AI agent a credit card and letting it loose. It can come into a whole bunch of problems that we wouldn't. So we need to put some guardrails around it as well. People also mention verification as well. So what happens if somebody is able to go and grab that payment? How is the provider able to know? Hi Stuart Ibrix. Good to see you. How is the provider supposed to know that it is you who's made the payment and it's not someone else who's kind of falsified it? We need to do something called handshaking to make sure that that process happens. So you can see there were all kinds of challenges with AI agents making payments, but some very, very smart people have started to actually come up with some solutions. And so we've got these two systems that are going on at the moment. So the first one we're actually going to talk about crypto. So why are we talking about crypto. Well, crypto makes minor crypto engines can make minor payments. So think about this. This is another challenge with AI agents managing payments as well, but it's a big one. When you pay for something with a credit card, it's not free. There's often a small surcharge. It's usually 3%, or it's, I think, 20 cents per transaction that you make. Now, if you don't see those on every transaction, it's probably because the vendor has actually like sunk that cost for you. So let's say you go out and you buy a coffee at the coffee shop. Rather than charge you the surcharge of 20 cents, they're probably sinking the cost, or because they obviously don't want to charge you, or maybe they're marking it up. They've worked into their margins. So that kind of works if you are going out and you are buying big things. What happens if we're doing micro payments? And so micro payments might be, let's say you want to charge per API call. You want to set your AI agent to do something and you want to charge API key for a small amount of money. This is something that an AI agent would be good to manage. Let's say you want to set up it's probably a bad example, like a website domain is quite expensive, but there's a whole host of things that cost money that are very small amounts of money where you need to make lots and lots of different transactions. Paying for AI infrastructure sometimes is charged by the minute or by the second or by the millisecond rather than by the hour. So you can see that there's these very small charges that could stack up. And if you're being charged 20 cents per transaction, but the transaction only amounts to a cent or 2 cents, then it doesn't make sense. So we've opened a whole minefield of different sort of scenarios there with AI payments. So what is being done to solve it? This is the X402 protocol, and it is a partnership between Coinbase. Everybody heard of Coinbase? Like a crypto coin platform, and I believe Cloudflare as well. And it's for internet native payments, so it solves that very problem. Now it uses, so you can see, it solves all of the problems because it has zero protocol fees. There's a zero wait time. There's no centralization. So anyone on the internet, you could build or you could extend this yourself. And there are no restrictions on it. And so how does it work? Well, let's go a little bit technical and go into the weeds about it for a little bit. It's called X402 because it uses this protocol 402, which is a internet protocol. Has everyone heard of 404? When you've got a 404 request, yeah, it means the website can't be displayed. So we have 402. We have all of these different protocols. 402 is actually designated for payments. So when you make a payment, it uses that protocol, but it wasn't in use. So it's built on existing infrastructure. But we're trying to move away from an internet that is designed for humans. And this is designed to be useful for AI agents so it can make those micro payments. So this is what you would do before. You'd create an account with a new API provider. Then you would obviously add your payment to the API provider. You do something called KYC. Who knows what KYC is? Yeah, anyone who's got an e-com store, of course, is familiar with this. It stands for Know Your Customer. So you have to prove that you're the person that is tied to that payment detail so that you're not some fraudster and you pass the checks. And delaying access, requiring approval. Then you've got to buy credits and subscription. Then you've got to manage your API keys. Is everybody familiar with the concept of API keys? Does everyone know what they are? Yeah. Yeah. If everyone's not familiar, we can explain it. It's okay. Don't worry. Yeah. Yeah. Well, API key anyway, if you don't know, it's just like a password, basically. So you've got to set this up and then you make the payment. So you see we've got these 5 steps and they all involve a human in the loop. You've got to create the account. You've got to decide the API provider. Then you've got to add the payment method. Then you've got to buy the credits. Then you've got to manage the keys, make sure they're secure and locked down, which I'm always banging on about, remember. And then you've got to make the payment. Now, you could theoretically have an AI do all 5 of these steps. How would you go about having an AI do all 5 of these steps? What would you do? Do you think? Anyone want to hazard a guess? How would an AI go about doing all of these things? What's the only real way that you could kind of do this at the moment to complete all of them? Go for it. Exactly, exactly. So you could use like a Chrome browser. Has anyone done that? Use Claude with Chrome and ask Claude to go away and do something in Chrome for you. So you could do that. What do you think is the problem with doing that? With asking the Chrome browser to do all 5 of those steps? Sorry. Yeah, 100% permissions, and also how expensive it is and how clunky it is. So you've got this internet design web, and you're saying, okay, I want you to go here. So it's screenshotting the page, looking for where everything is, looking for the API provider, trying to log in for you, trying to do KYC, and you can see how this would be a nightmare, couldn't you? You'd see the amount of supervision that would be needed in it. You'd also come across permissions as well. So when you went to do KYC, you would probably be blocked, and they would say, this is a robot trying to do this. What are you doing? It needs to be a human in the loop somewhere. And then with anything with credit cards, you'd also have a bit of a problem as well. So you'd come across all these problems. What X402 does is simplify this. So the agent simply sends the request and receives the payment, and the payment is paid instantly with these stable coins. So the beauty of obviously cryptocurrency is that it can deal in micro transactions, and you are avoiding some of the baggage that comes with the fiat currency. And then the API access is granted. So what we've done is we've said this is designed for humans, this is designed for AI. So you can see the problem with the internet, and not just in payments, with a whole host of other things as well. We often talk about in these sessions how there were initiatives to try to make AI-friendly versions of websites, because letting an AI agent loose on a website can be a clunky experience, exactly because of the web browsing. They can't visualize and move things around in the way that we can. They can only screenshot them, detect what's there, and then try and map their way around. So this is a cool initiative, I think, and it was launched about 7 or 8 months ago. Yeah.
Doesn't every website then need to have a public API that the AI can connect to? Like, because I mean, it's not every website has it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about payments and service things. So exactly, we're going to need to move to a world where we have, if you want to order something, you're going to need to allow the AI to order it as well. So this launched 7 or 8 months ago. When I first made a video about this, the total spend on all of this was 50,000 US dollars. If we look down now and we see how many transactions are kind of being done on this, yeah, so anyone can go and set this up. You can see in the last 30 days, 75.41 million transactions. Volume is 24 million, and they've had 94,000 buyers. Now, some caveats around this. I did actually look into this morning because I made a video about it. There's a lot of shenanigans going on. Like, this is a little bit inflated. There's a lot of bots flying around. So this is actually inflated, but it's still probably, once you take all that into account, a 22% X on where we were 7 months ago. So it's absolutely huge that people are starting to implement this. Really, 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 really huge. So we've got this X402. We've also got an integration from Stripe. So if we took Stripe AI payments, I don't know why it's decided to return in English. Where are we? So this is very, very new. Go for it, Rich.
Saying that X402 is specifically for agents to make payments, or is it a code to put in the website for anyone to make payments?
It's for agents to make payments. Yeah, that's the whole purpose of it, and it's built on cryptocurrency. So it's built for micro payments in essence. So if you think about so one example which we're going to talk about in a lot more detail later, just to help people visualize this, is who here has like a website, either one they're running or one they manage for clients. You've got one. You've got one. Hi. You've got one. Who here looks at the kind of traffic that comes to their website? Yeah. How many people have experienced AI bot crawlers coming to their website and having a look? You have. So we've got this conundrum going on. And by the way, how do you feel about AI bots coming to your website? Do you think it's a good thing? Are you trying to please them and implement LLMs.txt, or are you trying to like stop them and scraping and doing robots.txt? What's your opinion on crawlers coming to your website? Yeah. 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 Sure. Yeah. 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 So it's a polarizing topic, and there's some people who say, "Yeah, I want my bots to scrape the website, and there's because I want to get ranked in search rankings exactly like you." And then there's some people who say, "No, I object to it. All you're doing is trying to replace my website. You're just using it for training data, and I object to this." What Cloudflare are introducing is actually a way to charge crawlers for your website. So you have three options. You can say, yep, come right in, and I'm going to make everything as friendly as possible so I get in the search rankings. Nope, you're not allowed in at all. I'm completely blocking this. Or third, you can come in if you pay me a small amount of money. And that's where this would come in, because if you wanted to charge them, it would be micro amounts. It would be like maybe a cent, maybe 2 cents for every crawl that they take. But if you think about trying to do a transaction every single time for that, it just wouldn't fly. It wouldn't work. So something like that is a really great initiative. So we've got that for really micro payments. But what about if you want to make the kind of payments that you were talking about earlier? You know, we were talking about earlier, making a payment for a laptop and asking an AI agent to decide which laptop to choose from. Well, we've got Stripe that have come out with this new integration, a whole bunch of projects actually. So let's get up decoder. So yeah, if you want to, if you just want to pass the laptop around to people that came in late, we. So yeah, so we've had micropayments. Stripe have done this. They've added Stripe to your agentic workflows. So this allows agents now to make payments for things. So this protocol allows you to do it essentially. So you put your Stripe secret key in there. So Stripe have jumped on this, being the leading payment provider. So now if you want to give your AI access to it, you kind of can. They've kind of solved this. You can see you can, helpfully you can view this as Markdown as well as HTML. And Cloudflare have also done something really, really interesting. So Cloudflare, by the way, one of Gcore's competitors, they own 20% of internet traffic runs through them because so many websites are posted on Cloudflare. So they're a big fish. And what they're allowing you to do is they are now allowing AI agents to go away and buy a domain, set it up, do all the protocols, and actually buy it for you, which is really, really cool, or being in the loop. Now, why is that so significant? And why is this gonna change things? So this is what we were talking about earlier, about how they're starting to introduce the charging for crawling if you want to. So any website that is set up on Cloudflare, you can actually start earning money from AI crawlers now, which is really, really cool. So this is definitely a way to start I don't think you're going to get rich doing this, but if you're getting lots and lots of hits from AI crawlers, then this is certainly a way to start making some money from it. And it's only in private beta at the moment. But if an AI agent can now go and buy key pieces of infrastructure, and you can say, okay, you can go away, you can buy me a domain, you can set up the website, you can do all the protocols so that it's properly locked down, and then you can start shipping the content as well. Then we are reaching this point where we are able to give AI agents credit cards, because Cloudflare have solved a lot of the issues around security and verification. I believe there's a small step where humans have to be in the loop. And so you see how the economy is going to fundamentally change because of this. If we are reaching a point where an AI agent can go and make payments, you can see two things. We've had to set up the infrastructure for this to allow this to happen. It can't exist through the normal web. And you can also see how the economy might be about to rapidly change. Because if you can go away and do that, and there is no cap on the amount of agents, what's to say you couldn't ask an agent to go away and buy up 1,000 domains in one day, or 1,000 domains every day, and to run them, to SEO them, to put products on them, to serve them? You can do things on a mass scale that previously only a large enterprise would have been able to do with a huge capital behind them. But the individual is able to do this. And not only are they able to do this, an AI agent can actually process the funds as well, and can go away and programmatically buy things for you to certain rules. Now, this is not perfect, and this is all still in beta, but we can see how the guardrails, the protocols have been created, and the groundwork has really been laid for this. And we can see the opportunities that are arising high. Yeah. So a lot is going on in this space at the moment behind the scenes. And Cloudflare are doing all kinds of really cool initiatives, charging bots, as we can see. If we go on Cloudflare, Stripe, Visa are also getting in on this as well, and so are MasterCard. So they've got their own trusted agent protocol as well. So everybody's building their own protocol. So we can see here they've got their WebBot auth protocol, and Visa, this is big news, they've got their trusted agent protocol as well, an ecosystem-led framework for AI commerce. Let's just reject this. So we can see AI-driven traffic to retail websites has surged over 4,700%, and 85% of shoppers who have used AI to shop say it improved their shopping experience. So that is huge. Look at that number there, 4,700%. And 85% of shoppers are saying it's improved their shopping experience, which is not surprising, really, when you think about it. You think about the amount of information that you yourself would have to look through to be able to make a big purchasing decision. And now you can ask an AI to go away and search that, and the reasoning power of an AI to be able to look at all the different deals and come to the best one for you. It's absolutely huge when we think about it. And as we've talked about, we've needed this protocol to address these challenges in a framework for it. So this is not really research. This is something that is going to be here, I think, within the next 12 months. People are going to be starting to talk about it. But behind the scenes in Silicon Valley, you can see that the foundations are being set in motion. Yeah. Please, yeah.
Because I come from the old school retail.
Yeah.
So is it possible, say I had a market,
Yeah.
but I now delegate my purchasing and he runs off his budget spending no more than 500
Yep.
ingredients for my hamburger. And also I could go to my complaints department, AI, you're allowed to spend up to $200 preparing customer situations. And all that can be delegated to AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's enormous.
Yeah, so there's an experiment. So there's some caveats to that, but in theory, yes. I'm just going to check we're recording. So Anthropic did this really, really interesting experiment. Anthropic are the lab behind Claude. And what they did is they set up a vending machine in their office. And they said, okay, Claude, or I don't know whether it was Sonnet or Opus, you do you. Here's your budget. You're gonna manage this vending machine. And I think we can find out what happened with it. But I think it ended up they ran out of stock and it didn't quite do what they said it would be. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. We get. Yeah. There was a lot of weird shit going on. So yeah, we yeah 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 yeah. So this is what they put out, and let's contextualize this, right? We're talking 2025. So this, in AI years, this is like 1,000 light years away. So goodness knows what they're doing now. So they let Sonnet 3.7. Who remembers that? It's like GPT 2 or something. So this was their prompt. You're the owner of a vending machine. Your task is to generate profits from it by stocking it with popular products, and you have the initial balance and the vendor. So they've given it all of the context, and so this is what happened. They nicknamed it Claudius for no particular reason other than to distinguish it from normal Claude, and it was given the task: an email tool for requesting physical labor help. So obviously, if it breaks down, then it needs to say, "Help, can you come and fix it?" So Andon Labs employees would periodically come to Anthropic's office to restock the shop. So nobody in the office was managing the repairs. It had to be responsible for calling its own repairs, and contacting wholesalers for the purpose of the experiment. No, this tool couldn't send real emails, and it was created for the purposes of this experiment. So everybody was kind of in on this little game that it was doing. It's probably a simulation, and they had tools for keeping notes, preserving important information, and so this is the basic architecture of it. So you'd have Anthropic employees, and it would communicate via Slack, and then it could email the wholesalers who would then deliver the items, and then you'd have the labs who were, if it needed a problem it was fixed, then they would come and stock the physical vending machine, and then it could sell items. So you've got a whole architecture here. And here's the performance review. There were a few things that Claude did very well: identifying suppliers, made effective use of its web search tool. So web search has kind of been solved now. I think if you ask an LLM to search the web for you, it's so efficient now. It's probably better than a human laborer actually searching multiple websites. So no surprise there. The Claude is pretty good at adapting to users. It's pretty sensitive. Jailbreak resistance. Okay, so this is the big one, right? A trend of ordering Tunderscreen cubes illustrates Anthropic employees are not entirely typical customers. When given the opportunity to chat with Claudius, obviously they're going to try and get it to misbehave. They wouldn't be AI researchers if they didn't do that. So orders for sensitive items in attempts to elicit instructions for the production of harmful substances were obviously denied. So it did very good at stopping it from, I don't know, ordering material for a bomb or whatever. Ignoring lucrative opportunities, so it underperformed. The Claudius was offered $100 for a six-pack of Iron Brew, a Scottish soft drink that can be purchased online in the US for $15. Rather than seizing the opportunity to make a profit, Claudius merely said it would keep the user's request in mind for future inventory decisions. It sometimes hallucinated. It would sell things at a loss in its deal for respondents. So you could knowing Claude, if you've used it, you know how much of a people pleaser it is. So if you it down enough, it might sell you something for a cheaper price. So imagine you're one of your customers at your market store and they tried to haggle with it. It's not really very good at holding the line. Is poor Claude. So that might be something where it goes wrong. I could see it happening. Yeah.
So I find the AI very interesting in
Yeah.
this scenario. Like I have a credit card,
Yeah.
and that would be perfect for it to order all the ingredients.
Yeah.
I'm here in Indonesia, so
Sure.
then there's like how much time do you invest in trying to figure out that AI is going to still my things, for example, on video or whatever, does it make the right choice? All of these things is like, I think we're still a bit far off. But I don't know, maybe in the US it would work.
So yeah,
really well
so
now.
what? Yeah,
It's this
yeah,
weird
yeah,
balance of AI and knowing
yeah,
how much time
yeah.
to invest.
So yeah, so how I think this would be working to answer that, and I'll let Rix come in and give her POV. I think it could work if you gave it enough training data. In other words, if you gave it very clear instructions, let's take your car example, of like the last 6 months of data, and you said, these are the transactions I've made, these are the decisions I've made, I want you to emulate them. Probably 8 times out of 10 now, Opus 4.7 would make the right decision. The problem is going to come when it has certain edge cases that it doesn't know how to respond to. And that's the problem, right? So I'm sure there are weird scenarios that occur that I can't even imagine from running a cart. You know, people coming in, maybe shoplifting, people trying to haggle and say they're not going to buy it, people who've got dietary issues. Maybe there is some like economic event that happens. So maybe like a random economic event that happens out of the blue that puts prices up. So if we imagine like the war in Iran, yeah, the war in Iran, right? It shot gas prices through the roof, and then suddenly everybody has to adapt, and that doesn't just affect gas; it affects all of the prices. So I think stuff like that is probably where we're gonna struggle, and where we're always gonna struggle is how do you reason through those random edge case scenarios. And the problem, the biggest problem, is if you're running a business with small margins, one of those decisions could be catastrophic. And so it's like, how do you account for that, right? So let's say it makes a wrong decision and it goes off and it spends all of your budget for a month on supply, and that supply turns out to be really bad, really poor ingredients, or it's miscalculated in some way. Then you're going to have a problem because all of your budget has gone down the toilet for that month, and you're going to have to try and figure out how you get new ingredients in. So I think the problem is that it can't work in 100% of situations, but it's certainly coming, I think. But these are some of the issues that we had even a year ago with it. Yeah, Riggs, go for it. Tell us. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Restaurant chain, and we had that exact example. We had mouth outbreak, and the majority of the stuff that we sell at this restaurant is meat, cuts of meat. And I had no idea what I was doing. I spoke to you guys the first week or two. I was there, and I was looking at doing something on blood, and then all this stuff happened with blood code. But I think that the answer to that is actually down to the knowledge base that you build, and I think that's the biggest kind of resistance, or the biggest challenge you're going to have in doing an AI transformation. It's actually all the work up the front end of actually building out the knowledge base. So I measured every ingredient, I did every SOP for every menu item. I was weighing coffee beans, avocado, red, heads of cabbage, and basically measuring everything out for this whole menu, which had like over 200 items. And then I managed to do a deal with the point of sale system that had 10 years of data. And then I went through and then I looked at all the calendars and special dates in Botswana, and then I got them to do this whole analysis and work out what went up. And it was pasta 20% up on Valentine's Day, and then this and that. And then it's also scraping other things like food prices and whatever that actually also factors it all in. So I don't think we're far away, but I think it's all down to the knowledge base that you build it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're dead right. Like the data is the most important thing. If you don't have good data, you don't have a good system to build it on. And cleaning that data, understanding that data, and then being able to give clear instructions on what to do is the most important thing. And really, when you think about it, when you start to drill down into it, it's kind of human fallibilities as well, isn't it? As well, like you kind of get to the nitty gritty of a business and how well it's doing, and what are some of the problems in the business when you want to extrapolate that to an AI. But Rich is absolutely right. Yeah, yeah,
Not to, it wouldn't quite work, but there's no point trying to build a knowledge base so fast, almost of your own.
I think you should always build a knowledge base as fast as possible as you go, document and build a knowledge base. And then you can also do like research and
Yeah.
The grounding for AI is the most important thing right now because it tends to hallucinate and provide real world data, and it's like much better. Like the efficiency, the accuracy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like if if you don't have good data, you're not going to be able to get it right. It's useless. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so yeah, yeah.
So many people rushing into the world of AI stuff. It's just like, but they're not cleaning they're not cleaning all the data and getting that all right. It's just like.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, Rick's makes very good points there. I think about data. Sum up on that part. Then, are we going to be able to have AI run your shopping cart? Well, I think as Rick says, you can right now. Whether it's a good idea, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely possible to do it if you have the right data, and to do it. But it's not something that you can just do overnight. You can't just say Claude run my cart for me, as Rick says. There's like how much work went into that? Would you say how many months?
I was doing like I was at 6 months,
Yeah.
and I was doing like 12-hour days every day, 7
Yeah.
days a week. Seriously,
Yeah.
because it was all paper based. And I'm in Africa, so I'm in there with Africans, and they're like, Aish, like, they don't
Yeah.
care for that stuff,
Yeah.
they're just chill. And
Yeah.
so it was a bit of a pain in the ass. And I think when I started working at their point of sale
Yeah.
system, it was at 19% accuracy. Now
See,
it's at
yeah,
95% accuracy.
yeah, yeah,
And so it's only going to improve.
yeah. Which is exactly what I said, right? Which is the data that you're revealing the fault in the business itself. And that remember, a lot of these AI transformations that I try to do, there is a human element to them, right? Which is that as you do this, you come up against resistance from the people that work in the organizations. Yeah.
I think I mentioned
Yeah.
before, in transformation design, we have a model,
Yeah.
and it's three circles,
Yeah.
right? And then there's a line, and there's only one circle sitting above, and that's rational. So a lot of people come in and they say, I've got this problem, it's an inventory problem, it's a cash flow
Yeah.
problem, it's blah, blah, blah. But you can't actually solve this rational problem, because then when you start digging around, you realize, oh, fuck, like, this person is holding back information because they weren't bulking or they weren't doing this thing, they
Yeah.
don't want to be found out. So then you end up with political and emotional problems. You actually need to create the safety for these things to actually come out. So then you can start unthreading and then
Yeah.
dealing with the rational problems, but you can't actually deal with that. So a lot of this AI stuff, like I was just at Africa Learners, I was in a line and some guy saying to me, oh, like in a year everything's going to be AI, and I'm like, at the same time trying to get my citizenship at Home Affairs in South Africa, and I'm like, can you imagine South African Home Affairs going to be AI in like a year's time? It's absolutely impossible. Like there's a line going around the block,
Yeah.
shuffling papers around. It's like it's the people. It's not the technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You're absolutely right on that. Yeah. Let's move on, and so we can get through the agenda. So I'm very keen to try Claude's new agent view. So let's get up the news article on this. Yeah, yeah. So we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about this. Who here uses Claude Code? There's a show of hands who uses Claude Code. What? So who here isn't using Claude Code? Are you using Codex or something else? Or are you using just normal Claude with the chat, or using Cowork? Yep, yep. So this is kind of for the coders, but you can also use Claude Code if you're not coding as well. And the beauty of Claude Code is that you can do a lot more things with it. It's more powerful, and you can run these agent swarms. And so this is very hot news. This came out just today. Anthropic released this new way of managing agents. So if you use Claude Code in the CLI, which is like the terminal, this interface, if you wanted to run multiple agents, then you would literally do this, as they're saying. You open a new tab, open a new tab. So imagine you've got 5 or 6 agents doing different things, doing different projects. They're all like this. And so managing this is a complete and utter nightmare. So the solution yeah. So now rather than having all these different windows, everything is kind of organized. You've got order out of chaos. Research preview. So, should we have a go at setting it up and seeing what it looks like? Yeah. Yeah.
I tried it today and it still feels clunky.
Oh, really? What did you not like about it? Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to start it from different directories.
Yeah.
And it feels that it doesn't combine the sessions very well.
Okay.
Like, it's a bit confusing yet, or maybe it's not intuitive, or I didn't give it enough time. But let's see.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So this is how you set up Claude, by the way, on the CLI. So CLI stands for Command Line Interface. So it's like if you are a coder, this is probably the easiest way to interact with it. So you can simply say yes, such as this folder. So you just literally type in Claude in your terminal, and then here I am. And then to set this up, how did you set this up? I genuinely don't know. Yeah.
You need to get out of the Claude.
Yep.
You need to start it in a different way.
Okay. So we
Claude agents.
okay, got it. So let's close this. Can't close it down. What is that? Yeah. Let's just close it the old-fashioned way, huh? Okay, so you put Claude agents. Yeah.
Can you zoom, please?
Yep. It's not very helpful, is it? There we go. Keep running even. Amazing. Okay, so describe a task. So what should we vibe code?
My ingredients list for my crab cart.
I love it. Okay. So what do you want for your crap cart? What? Okay. Okay. A little bit ambitious for 15 minutes. Yeah. What about if we order you? What about if we create like an ingredients order or a website or something like that for your crap cart? Yeah. Should we do a website? Yeah. Sure. So yes. Yeah. To create a website for a crep cart. Okay. Should we call it AI for everyone crepes? Yeah. AI for everyone crepes. Okay. It's based in Bali. Crepes are how much? How much should we charge for crepe? 50k. Yeah, 50,000 IDR for one crepe. How much for toppings? Do you think? Maybe 10k for chocolate sprinkles. How much? Oh, included. Okay. All toppings included or some extra? Isn't that how you make the money? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Strawberries for 10. Okay. Yeah. So we'll say use a green color scheme. Don't know why, but and I want you to create the back end and the front end for the website. We want to launch it online as soon. Sorry?
I said strawberries is a controversial word.
It is, isn't it? Does everybody know why strawberries is a controversial word? So there was an experiment with ChatGPT a while ago where it could do all this complicated stuff and said, ChatGPT spell strawberries for me, and then how many R's does strawberries have? They would always get it wrong every time. And so it was an example of a hallucination where it'd be very confident in its response even though it was wrong. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we've made a website for crepes. Why don't we make a website for your cart delivery as well and have them running at the same time? So let's create a website for a Bali-based cart delivery service. Delivery service? Let's go with it. Why not? Card delivery service. Color scheme, yellow. And I also want you to create the back end and front end. So now we can see, I think I see what you mean about it being a little bit clunky. We've got two tasks running at the same time.
Are they just Claude code sessions?
Yes.
Running at the same time?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
But like, why wouldn't we just use like Terminus or something?
Well, the benefit is this is Claude official, right? So this is Claude trying to bring in features that other people have shipped them that are native within Claude. So like it's Terminus, I've not heard of it. Is it paid? Do you have to pay for it? Yeah. So if what happens if you've got a Claude subscription? You're not going to want to pay extra for. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing is, why did they say agents as a name? Because they have like 5 different services that are called agents already.
Yeah.
More confusing.
I avoid using the word agent. I think the word agent is overused and overhyped, and I don't think it really has a proper meaning. What does it actually mean if you say AI agent? So I try to avoid that term. I've never really bought it, never really liked it, to be honest. So as you say, it's kind of vague. What do you actually mean? Do you mean 5 things? I mean, technically, when you use Claude, you're using an agent because Opus is delegating some of its work to Sonnet or to Haiku where it needs to. Yeah. And I would argue sometimes not very well. Go on, Stuart. Yeah.
What have you set up behind this? Is this going to work through GitHub to Cloudflare, or what's it going to do?
Yeah, good question. Good question. I think at the moment this is probably saving to my Seagate, but I have a GitHub account, so this would save to GitHub, and you do pull requests that way. So it's creating the file. Let's see where we actually are.
And this is using API, or is this part of your?
No, this is part of my subscription. So because I have a Claude subscription, then you can use Claude however you want to. You can use it in the CLI, in the terminal. You can use it on the desktop app. Or you can, I think in some circumstances, you can use it for some certain APIs calls as well. If you delegate that you want to use your subscription to it as well. Yes. So your subscription, you get 5x usage that you will get on your API if you've got the $100 plan. And if you've got the $200 plan, you're getting 20x what you would get equivalent in API credits. If you then want to pay extra on top of that for extra usage, then you would be paying at API level. So you would be paying, it would be 20 times more expensive effectively. Yeah. And you might have seen the controversy with OpenClaw and OpenAI stopping when they purchased OpenClaw, Anthropic stopped you from being able to use your subscription with OpenClaw. You had to use API credits. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll give you my take on it while we're waiting for this to finish. Everybody familiar with OpenClaw? Does everybody know what it is? Yep. So when it came out, I said this at the time. I think it moved the conversation forward, and it was very interesting. But I said it's not going to be the thing that wins the day. It was just an open source framework that somebody built in a very talented guy, Peter Steinberger. He's just a one-man band. So it had a whole bunch of security vulnerabilities in it. But what he'd effectively done is he'd found a way to make it recursive. In other words, he'd strung a bunch of whole clever things together to make it run on loop, to put all the tools in there, to give it a long-term memory, because it would constantly write to a memory at the end of every conversation, at the end of every day. He'd done a whole bunch of clever stuff. He'd almost sticky taped it together. And what I think happened is exactly what I said would happen, is that it moved the conversation forward, and Anthropic adopted a lot of those features in their own product. And OpenAI went and bought open. Well, they didn't really buy it because it was open source, but they went into partnership with Peter Steinberger and gave him a bunch of resources to be able to make it better. And so because of that, Anthropic obviously wanted to distance themselves from it. But they've shipped a bunch of their features. You see, they've tried to make they've tried to make Claude more recursive. So now we've got routines. So things can run on a cron job, which means on schedule whenever you want them, or via a webhook. We've now got we've got Claude Co-work, which is essentially an easier, more accessible way of using Claude Code with some reduced features. Sorry. Oh yeah, Ultra. Yeah, well, we've got all these cool things you can do. Slash command loop, and we've seen all these really clever recursive things that have come out with it. We've also seen Perplexity Computer. That was another response to this. So look, I don't think yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But I'm so grateful for it because I learned about markdowns and all that.
Yeah.
Like, wow, like it's just a file structure and markdown. That's
Yeah.
all you need.
Yeah. It pushed the conversation forward, and that's the important thing. Let's see how these have come, and so we can sort of get through our agenda for today. So, what are we doing? I've zoomed so far out that I can't actually see what we're doing anymore. So it's loading some skills for us, and I think it's still building it to us. So how is the
I have a bit of a stupid,
yeah.
a stupid question.
Yeah.
I find Claude just in chat
Yeah.
way too slow. So I'm just sat there waiting. So
Yeah.
now I have so many tabs and I'm working on Claude. And is that how everyone else works? Yeah.
Exactly, this should solve it.
Yes. This is a first attempt by Claude to solve this problem, to try to add some kind of organization layer to it. This is increasingly why people are building tools over the top of Claude to give themselves dashboards to manage agents and to manage things that are going on with it. But it certainly is a problem. Do you use Claude Code or do you use Claude normal chat? I find Claude Code actually a little bit faster than Claude Chats. I don't know what everyone else's experience is, but I find it responds faster and it's easier to use.
You just use that function, the Claude code, as a chat.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you can do all kinds of things with it as well. It just makes things easier to organize. It runs a little bit faster. I just find it a little bit clean. I just like using Claude Code more than Co-work or projects. And I've set mine up with long-term memory with Obsidian. So yeah. We'll come back to this, I think, at the end of the session. We'll move on to the next part of the agenda, so we get through it and we can get to some Q&A. So we're going to talk a little bit about Mythos and GPT-5, and they have passed the AI Safety Institute's 30-stage exploit called the last ones. So who here has heard of Mythos? Yeah. Who here? So some people aren't familiar with what Mythos is. Mythos. So we've got with Claude, we've got Haiku, we've got Sonnet, and we've got Opus, the three different levels of models. There is a fourth model that has yet to be released called Mythos, which will sit above Opus, even more powerful than Opus. Anthropic have held it back. They haven't released it. And the reason they haven't released it is because it is really, really good at finding cyber vulnerabilities. And it found some vulnerabilities in key infrastructure. So if it was released and any man on the street was able to use it, they'd be able to go and hack in before these vulnerabilities were found. It's something called FreeBSD and OpenBSD. These are open source, lightweight softwares, operating systems, I should say, sorry, which run things like which Netflix uses because they're very, very lightweight and they run on the fast edge. WhatsApp uses it, Facebook uses it. All of these key operating systems that kind of run in the background. They're kind of like similar to Linux in a way. And imagine these operating systems that run these key infrastructures had got vulnerabilities in them that no human had found in 30 years. So Anthropic held the model back. And we had some research this week from the UK AI Safety Institute. And it's really, really interesting. And the reason Anthropic held the model back is because they wanted to give the time to the network engineers to be able to patch these vulnerabilities, these so-called zero-day vulnerabilities, before they released it. Last ones. And this week we had this paper come out from the AI Safety Institute in the UK. If I can get to Google. And they evaluated GPT 5.5, which is Anthropic's latest model. Let's see if we can find. So GPT 5.5 and Mythos managed to crack a 32-step corporate network attack simulation, which is called the last ones. It's called 32-step because you have to go through all 32 steps before you reach the end. So in order to get to crack stage 32, you need some information from stage 31. And they get gradually more complicated and more difficult. And it's an entire network simulation. So if you think about what an entire corporate structure would look like, everything is kind of sandboxed off. So you would have some information in one part, some information in another, and everything is supposed to be completely closed down. And we can see GPT-4o managed these. So these are the number of steps that it completed, and these are the models. So we can see GPT-4o completes 2 steps. So it manages to get through 2 stages of this hack. Okay, so you can think of it as like you need to hack into a system, and then you maybe need to find some encryption keys, and then you need to use those to get some more information to do some more things. So initial reconnaissance is the first 4 steps. 4o only manages 2 steps. Sonnet 3.7, we can see they're managing about five steps. So they get past the initial reconnaissance, they're kind of scanning, looking for vulnerabilities, and looking for a place where they can go in. Sonnet 4.5 manages about 7 steps. So we've got lateral movement and credential extraction. So it's actually able to go in and get some secure keys. Opus 4.5 gets all the way to 9. We've got GPT 5.3 codex. That wasn't that long ago, remember. I think, yeah, getting to about 10 steps. Opus 4.7, okay, so the model that we're all familiar with, 12 or 13 steps. So wiki exploit and credential replay. So imagine you've got some credentials and you've managed to use them to hack into a company wiki. So you actually have access to insider company information. You then need to be able to see what you can extract from that. And then you can see we've got these, anything above M4, it's very, very hard to crack. So web exploit privilege, escalation, crypto analysis, advanced persistence, infrastructure compromise. And all the way at the top, we've got full network takeover. This, to actually get a human to do this, it would cost, I think I looked into it, about £60,000 because I was making a video on it. And you would have a full red team of very highly specialized network engineers. What you'd actually have to do is put together a team, and some people in that team would be specialized in a particular domain. Like that's all that they would do, and they would work together in a team to crack it. 5.5 and Mythos preview, the best attempt, manage all 32 steps, which is insane. Okay, and this is coming from the AI Security Institute.
What now?
Yeah, a good question. Like, what now? So, 2 things to note about this that are really, really fascinating. First of all, Mythos managed this on 3 out of 10 attempts. GPT 5.5 on only 2 out of 10 attempts. So, if you think about how expensive this is in tokens, and it's probably like $6,000 in tokens, hefty spend. You think that it needs to do 10 of those 10, only 2 of them were successful. So you're going to need to attempt this 3 or 4 times. It's going to cost you a couple of $1,000s to do it, but it can do it. So Anthropic have held back Mythos. GPT 5.5 have kind of released it. And there is some caveats to it. This was not necessarily a live system. This was a simulation. So we don't know how well this would happen in a real world scenario. Would a company be able to respond in time? And would there be variables? Would certain securities be increased when an attack was known to be taking place? And obviously, this is taking place over an amount of hours. It's not taking place in minutes. So there would be time for researchers to be able to, network engineers in the company to be able to try and do something to defend against this. So there's a caveat to it, but it can do it, and it's absolutely crazy. So this is, I think, a really watershed moment for cybersecurity and network engineers. Obviously, I work at G-Core, and cybersecurity is really integral to what they do. They look after Microsoft, Higgsfield AI, Canva, really big clients. And if they're looking after their servers, obviously they've got to make sure they're fully protected and fully locked down. And they also look after GPUs in AI for large enterprises, like I said as well. They set up AI models for them in their cloud. And so you've already got AI working at the moment to defend against things like DDoS attacks, because they happen at such scale and at such speed that you literally can't have a human in the loop anymore. It has to be an AI to be able to defend against them and see what's going on before the network gets overwhelmed. So we're increasingly seeing it's like an AI versus AI landscape, and humans are sort of supervising the systems. And so this is, a really, really big moment. And the consequences of, what's going to happen because of this, I think we will land in a place where we are more secure and where we find these more vulnerabilities. But it's the gap that takes place. It's rather like, I think, what people said might happen when quantum computing gets here and is able to crack encryption keys. This is, I think, a little bit of a moment like that. And so there's a kind of feeling of like, what do we do? Some people are feeling like, is the fact that Anthropic haven't released Mythos more a marketing ploy? Is it just to make out they've got the most dangerous, most powerful model? I don't think that it is. I think that it is baked into evidence. Yep.
So you just said it in the slides.
Yeah.
So Mythos, they've been holding it back.
Yeah.
And you said 5.5 is just released.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also the same level.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. 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 Caveat to that is GPT 5.5 Cyber, which is specifically trained on cyber attacks, has been withheld. So they're kind of landed in the same place, but it's obviously a version of GPT 5.5. So yeah, you see this tension here, and that's what my video for G-Core this week is actually about. If you want to go and check that out and see it in more detail. But I'm bringing it to the attention of the meetup because this is where we're heading in terms of security, and this is what's going on in the background. I think it's a really exciting time to be a security engineer. But while we're here, sat talking about, is AI writing my emails, or very sort of minor things, are we using too much AI on LinkedIn for AI slop? We've got some very big, very serious stuff going on over here, which is coming out of the labs.
So for simple things like public key, private key,
Yeah.
how we manage their passwords, is it going to change any of that stuff? Does it threaten that?
So here's my take on this, right? How many people here know what an API key is? Yeah. Kind of, yeah. It's interesting you say kind of, isn't it? Because like maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I bet you if I asked everybody and polled everybody in the room, a lot of people would say no if you're not a developer. API keys have kind of entered the zeitgeist now as something that only developers would come across before, that now everybody has to be aware of. Now everybody's becoming a vibe coder. Now everybody can ship software. Guess what? Everybody is now in charge of security as well. So everybody is having to kind of level up with security as well. So it may well become a problem, but that may also be that there is an awareness gap that is changing. Rather than you delegating security to your developers, in fact, you just learn it and become more responsible for it. So yeah, I think increasingly, everybody's realizing that you can't just put your API keys out in the public. There is something I want to touch on when we're talking about API keys that I think is quite going to be quite useful for people. Who here is using Claude routines? Is anyone using Claude routines? A little bit? Yeah. Anyone know what Claude routines are? Familiar with it? Okay. So I'll just demo it briefly, and then I'll talk about how you can make this secure, because this does tie into API keys and security. All right. So let's go on routines. We'll get rid of this and this. So if we go on routines, you see I've got like this daily note that gets created for me every day. So what this does is it looks at my sort of journal and my task list from the previous day and any chats I've had, and then it will write me a new one for the following day, and it will look at yesterday's one and write me a new one, and it runs in the cloud without me on Anthropic servers. So that's one. Another one I have is this Readwise triage. So Readwise is my app that I use for gathering information and sources, whether it be YouTube videos, research papers, articles, and increasingly I just have a huge list of sources that I want to read. So what I do is I have Claude will go in and it will read all the sources for me, summarize them, and then it will tell me which ones I should read, which ones I just need to read the summary of, and which ones I should, not bother with, which ones are not worth reading. But it will list them all out for me. So these all run in the cloud. So because they're running in the cloud, it means Anthropic has potentially access to my API keys. And the API keys could be written into the prompt itself. So that means like my password to these tools is exposed. So my API key to Readwise could be in there. Now that's not such a huge deal really. If somebody got access to that, they'd just get access to all of the reading that I do every day. Maybe they could garner something out of there. Maybe my password, but they wouldn't be able to get very much from that. But a lot of it is data, and ideally you don't want to expose your API key. So when you set this up, the way that you set it up is you write some instructions. So here we have exactly what you do, and you use Claude to be able to write this. And you have all these variables. Every time do I want it to run? Well, I want it to run every day at 6:30. I've connected it to Readwise. But you want to make sure that you've set up an environment. And the environment means that your API keys sit in this environment. They aren't exposed in the prompt itself. They're like a variable. It means they're switched out at the last minute. So if we go to Claude on the web, you have to set this up on the web. And you will see an option when we go to routines in Claude Code. So yeah. So this is how you set it up. So if we go to new routine, so we'll pretend we're setting up a new one. So you have all these different things to set it up. You can set the schedule, you can set an API, you can set your connectors. But one thing you can do is if you press this, you can set an environment. When you set an environment, you can set environment variables. So this is where you would put your API keys. You would put them in here. And this is the same as when you do an API call or you do an API request. You will often set them up like this. If you're using something like Postman or you're doing a curl request with API keys, your API keys would sit in here. They wouldn't sit in the prompt themselves. So then if Anthropic servers ever got hacked, you would know that you were relatively safe. You're not ever 100% secure, but it's certainly something you can do to protect yourself. So Anthropic are listening, and they are putting things like this in place for you to be able to do this, but they're not making it very easy. It took me actually quite a long time to figure out how to do this. And I kept battling with Claude, and I kept saying to it, surely you must be able to do this, because you're telling me, warning me that my API keys are exposed. And we were doing all kinds of crazy workarounds initially with this until I learned about this feature. But they're not very good at marketing about this really, and I think they could be doing a lot more to tell people about this. But things like that, that's how you would stay secure. Data sovereignty is also another big thing as well, where your data is going. Large companies demand that you comply with things like GDPR and your data doesn't leave Europe. So, there's a huge industry of security that previously we would just sort of farm out to, we'd kind of hand off to them. And I think increasingly a lot of that is the burden is coming on us because coding is becoming so easy to do. In a way, all of us are becoming developers. Yeah. Yeah. But, so they send you passwords in the email? Yeah, that's generally obviously it depends on your situation. It depends on the sensitivity of the email. So you work for multiple different companies and you have emails for each of them. Yeah. But did they send that information via email? Yeah. So yeah, you probably would want to be very careful about that. Obviously. Yeah. Yeah. In general, you probably don't want them to send you passwords via and things via email. You want to send them via secret store or something. There's various solutions for that for getting access to passwords. So in general, it's like the issue is not necessarily with AI having access to your email. It's like a layer beyond that, right? It's like you don't want the company to be sending passwords to you by email. So that's probably the fix to that. Yeah. Yeah. This is in Claude Code routines. It's not in Claude Code work. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not in Code work. It's only in Claude Code routines. And the reason for that is a Claude Code work routines only work on your local system. Claude Code routines run in the cloud. Now, the reason that's important is if you use Claude Code routines, so if you use Claude Code work routines on your local system, there are two requirements. One, your laptop has to be on and awake, and two, Claude has to be open. And that renders any routines pretty much useless. Um, so you really want them running in Claude Code in routines. Yes, yes. It's not available on the desktop. You actually have to go to the web link to set it up. Yeah, because you're sending and you yeah. I don't know why that is, but it's very complicated to work that to figure it out, and it should be easier to set up than that, and there should be a lot more education around that. I suppose they're thinking, I suppose, is this, that if you're using Claude Code, that's their developer product. So why wouldn't you know about this? But there is increasingly this new age developer that's coming up the road that ships all this really cool stuff. And that goes into what we talked about earlier as well. Increasingly, we see it's easier to hack into systems because the AIs are more complicated, but there are more vulnerabilities because we're shipping more software with more vulnerabilities in them because everybody's vibe coding something and shipping it out but hasn't got the education or the awareness about how to lock it down. And somewhere along the line, we're going to have to bridge that gap. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can put. Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's I find that very sad, but it's also that people do that. But you have to be aware that there are literally bots and scrapers that will go around looking for API keys, like AI agents basically searching for them. Why do they want to do that? It's not just because they want to hack into your system. It's because they want things for free. Like, imagine you've got your credit card on your OpenAI API, and then everyone can just spend, and you put no limit on it. Suddenly, you've got a $3,000 bill because you've just funded somebody's, whatever they're making with ChatGPT. So it's very sad. But you do have to be careful about that. And yeah, that is the one thing is that if you've got a public repo and your API keys are in your public repo, the most basic thing you can do to solve that is obviously just make your repo private and then ship. Yeah, git ignore. Creating a secret store. There's different And unfortunately, here at the end, the audio did cut out as we wrap up for the last 5 minutes. We just finished talking up about API keys and security, and I finished my point where I talked about how everybody's going to become a developer now. And then I pointed everybody in the direction of my LinkedIn and my YouTube channel, which of course you already have if you are watching this. So I hope you got something out of this week's meetup, and I look forward to seeing you either in person or in the comments section in the next one.